So we're going to take our knowledge of factors, multiples and primes a step further, and we're going to look at highest common factors and lowest common multiples. So highest common factors. As you can imagine, they're to do with factors. So we're going to think if we have two, when we talk about highest common factors, I'm going to write HCF because it's quicker. So let's think of two numbers. Let's think of 12 and 20. Now we can both are prime, so 2 is a common factor. 4 is also a common factor. And it's easy for us, simple arithmetic, that there's no other common factors between 12 and 20. So 4 is the highest common factor of 12 and 20. Now we can work that out really simply. We're not doing any not very much arithmetic at all, but sometimes we may want to find out a factor of two numbers which are higher. So let's think of 30 and 80. So what we would use is our prime factorization tree. So let's look at 30 first. 30 is in the 5 times table, so 5 times 6 is 30. 5 is a prime number. 6 is 3 times 2, both of which are prime numbers, so the prime factors of 30 are 5, 3 and 2. Let's now think of 80. The easiest way to look at 80 first is 8 times 10. 8 can then be factorised down to 4 and 2, and 4 down to 2 and 2. These are our prime factors here. Now 10 can be thought of as 5 times 2. Now let's look at all the numbers that we've got here that are primes, and in our prime factorisation trees we've got, and we're now looking for numbers that are in common, because we're looking for common multiples. So what common multiples have we got? Well, 2, the common multiple. 3 is not common. The other common multiple is 5. The highest common, sorry, not multiple, factor. So we're looking at the highest common factor is 5, and that's how we can use this prime factorisation tree to find the highest common factor of any two numbers. So let's look now at lowest common multiples, LCMs. So let's consider the numbers 15 and 20. The multiples of 15 are, I'm just going to write them down here, 15, 30, 45, 60 and so on. The multiples of 20 are 20, 40, 60, 80 and so on. So now for the lowest common multiple, we're looking for two of the multiples that are in common for both 15 and 20 and the lowest one. So we look through them. until we find 60 is common to both 15 and 20. So 60 is the LCM of 15 and 20. So let's look at some ways to work these out with different numbers. So let's think of 48 and 180. So let's first find the prime factors of each of these numbers. So say we've done our factorization tree and we've got 48, the prime factors are 2 to the power 4 times 3, and for 180 the prime factors are 2 to the power 2 to the power 2 times 3 to the power 2 times 5. Look at the powers of 2. So here, the powers of 2. There are 4 factors of 2 in 48, but only 2 factors in 180. Pick the higher, so we're going to pick this one. There is 1 factor of 3 here, so now we're looking at the powers of 3. There's 1 here, and there's 2 in 180, so we pick the higher one here. And for 5, there's no factor of 5 in 48, but there's 1 in 118, so we pick the highest of these. Putting all of this together, the LCM of 48 and 180 is, so we take our 2 to the power 4, multiply it by 3 to the power 2, multiply it by 5. So if we do the arithmetic, we would get, just slot these into your calculator, we would get 720. There's an alternative method. So again, we're going to still think of this time 70 and 110. So this alternative method is based on the fact that the product, so the product of the LCM and the HCF is the same as the product of the 2 original numbers. So the LCM of A and B equals A times B, so we've multiplied the 2 original numbers, divided by the highest common factor of A and B. So we're going to look at these 2 numbers. The highest common factor is 10. So the LCM equals 70 times 110 over 10, which equals 770. Now here, the highest common factor is 10. I've just stated that. You can either, some of you will be able to just look at two numbers and in your head mentally be able to know the highest common factor of some of the two numbers. You mentally be able to do the arithmetic in your head and come out with it. A lot of you will look at that and think, where did that come from? So you would go through your prime factorization tree and find what is the highest common factor and find out it's 10. Play around with the exercises and just get yourself really familiar with the difference between the highest common factor, the lowest common multiple, and how to use them. And memorize this useful little fact. It will really help you as you go on with this course. Hope that helps.